Welcome to the December update of the Willoughby New Haven line. The first thing on this update is my glorious, finally created backdrop. Was to serve two purposes. One was I started to add some puff trees in the back here. You can see there's two of them up there. They look terrible right now because there's two of them and they look like lollipops made out of meat. But I wanted a backdrop to, I'm not sure whether it's going to be sky behind here or trees, but something probably, I'm not really sure because I don't want to be looking through, my fear is that if you look through the trees, you would just see, you know, the stuff behind here. So I kind of wanted, if I'm going to have a photo or something that kind of has this kind of angle, you won't see behind there. So the backdrop kind of serves as a visual stop. So I'm still undecided whether I want to paint it blue or paint it kind of foliage like the backdrop back there to kind of just kind of blend in with the trees. You won't really see most of it because the trees will essentially cover all of that. But again, it's just kind of a visual stopgap so you don't see space through there that looks into this lovely mess of my basement. So I'm kind of undecided. I don't know if it's going to look weird if you see some blue going through the trees there. So I have some playing around to do. And I still need to add some Sculptamold in here to fill in the gaps, and then obviously turf it, paint it and turf it. But it was kind of a weird design process. I don't have an engineering background, but I am somewhat creative. And it took me a little trial and error to get something that worked. And I had to kind of deconstruct everything underneath. So there's really not much holding up this hillside anymore. I've got some of these barriers here, but they're just loose. And that's essentially to create, again, a visual block. So when you look through the tunnels, you don't see through. And you can still see some light coming through when they're not fully finished. But I had to clear a lot of that space out to allow, I had different cardboard bracings and things under here that supported the hillside, and now I've got nothing really there holding it up except the backdrop here and then the corners here on both sides. So this actually serves to hold it up at the top part, so it hopefully won't sag. I still need to, you know, kind of bridge the gap a little bit more between the board and the hillside. It's sturdy. I mean, it stood up without the board here. So it's definitely solid enough. You wouldn't want to put any pressure on it, but there's no need to put pressure on it. I guess in planting trees, but I usually just use the hand drill and do that without applying much force. So this will hopefully stabilize it a little bit better. Having this plaster up here, which kind of acts as a support in the middle, especially to kind of hold this up. Again, it's probably not the most durable, but again, it's served its purpose for the years that the layout's been up. So anyways, the other thing is I wanted to get some of the stuff off of my work area since I sacrificed a lot of space. If I do kind of like an overhead, you can see how the extra runaround track that I have on the outside here comes out from the initial table and onto my workbench. So some of my workbench is actually under here. So that right there, that's under this little shelf here. So I kind of lost, you know, a good, I don't know, 6 inches, 4 to 5, 6 inches of space, having this little piece of wood here that extends for this. Now, I mean, I could cut, you know, some of this off and lose this essential staging track here. Not really staging, it's just kind of a loose track. It's not even glued or anything down. However, I like it, so I wanted to keep it, but I wanted to get as much stuff off of the workbench as possible. So I added this little shelf, which holds all my paint, and then extra paint I can put, you know, in these shelves. And eventually, I know this is such an exciting update talking about storage and whatnot, but eventually I'm going to replace this area with actual shelves, either something freestanding or something I construct into the wall. Going into concrete's not my favorite, so it'll probably be freestanding, but then that'll get a lot of this stuff off the floor and allow extra storage and things. So that's kind of the latest little project I've been working on. But it's great because all my paints are up there now and they don't fall. And then the other thing, I added a little brace back here to prevent things from sliding off the back of the table and then into all of the lovely storage that I have underneath there. So this little bumper here is priceless. That has saved a lot. If I had done just that and not put my paints up there, that would have saved me a lot of frustration. Now that the paints are up, it gives me more room, but the paints I used to have to worry about, you know, sliding and things behind there. So much needed, great improvement. And then aesthetically, I'm you know, again, I'm still deciding what to do with this backdrop here. It's not necessarily, you know, it serves multiple purposes, so it doesn't have to be perfect in any regard, in any one aspect. So still undecided as to how I want to paint it, but I need to do that sooner than later before I add any more trees. And I still have a bunch of puff trees that need to get done. I have some turf coming in soon, hopefully, so I can start to do some more. And that's that for the backdrop, but I think it looks good. And especially if you're a viewer in person and you're looking back, it just kind of helps establish a visual stop to the layout. I think it's just, even as the wood, it just looks a lot better than just falling off into space. So it makes it look more finished at the least. 7 minutes to just basically say that. So let's take a look at the next little project I've been working on. So the next part of the update is talking about rolling stock. I got a few new pieces. This Swift one, which I think I need to clean up a little. It's a little over weathered. I had started to clean up some of it, and it doesn't look terrible on the video. It probably looks worse in person, but that came in. And I got a couple of other wood reefers. This Northwestern, this one I got a little while ago. Let's see the name there. And a Western Fruit Express. I think that was a newer. I think I got these two in my last, around the time of my last update. And then I've just got those, these new 4 in, this one, the Swift, and then this guy behind here, and I believe this New York Central. I had 2 New York Centrals. Yeah, I think it was this one, the one with the black logos down there that I've had for a while. So I got 6 new pieces of rolling stock, and in looking at that, I've been looking through my old pieces that I've had from when I was a kid. This was, I can't remember, I think my dad got this when he sold some Lionel stuff to afford to get us up on HO scale. I can't remember where this stock car came from. It's terrible. I mean, it's clunky. It's a hot mess. But I primed it. I did a little before and after on my Instagram. You could check out. It was yellow. I had painted it, and I think I rattle can sprayed it. And then since my last update, when I got the Vallejo primer, I primed it. So I stripped it with alcohol and then primed it so it's black at its current state. I have to get doors for it. I have some couplers coming in as well. So I've got this one. I've got this wood wooden hopper. I've been doing a little research today. I can't find much information on these. If anybody's got any info on the time period when these were used, I think this was a Union Pacific before I stripped it. I can't remember. But were these used in the 50s? Because that's the era of modeling. I'm not sure. So if anybody's got any info on those. I found limited information on stock cars as well, but especially the wooden hoppers the wooden hoppers. I haven't seen any real photos of them in use, maybe one. So if anybody's got any information, I'd greatly appreciate it. And then I also have these two from my childhood as well, a Southern Pacific and a Santa Fe. If you've been following since the beginning, that was what we initially had growing up, was Santa Fe and Southern Pacific, and I've since painted over things and whatnot. So these two are the original Athearn Blue Box kits. They're 50 footers, and I believe from my research, prototypically 50 footers were used in the 50s. I think they came out in the 40s, but I'm not sure if you would see 50 footers on the New Haven line in the 1950s. So if anybody's got any info on that. I know stuff from the West would be on the East and vice versa, but would it be prototypical to see a Santa Fe in the Southern Pacific riding around in New England? It's a 50-foot boxcar. If anybody's got any information, let me know. But yeah, so rolling stock. And then the other little project that I've been working on, I've got decals coming in as well, are these tank cars. I've got, I think I've got 6 of them. 2 are originally lettered. I need to re-weather them. And then these these were just kind of blank. I painted over them, but I forget which ones they were. I can't remember which ones I bought as kits, which ones were from when I was a kid. I can't remember, but I just recently primed them as well with the Vallejo black, so they're almost ready to get decaled once the decals come in, probably early next week. I need to gloss them and then decal and then weather them, so those will be probably on my next update as finished. So stay tuned for that. So basically that's going to be it for the update. The update's short this month. Got a lot going on. I did do a bunch of puff trees back there. I forget if this is a repeat from last update, but that back section is starting to fill in a little bit. So I did do some work on the puff trees, maybe since I'm looking at getting another passenger station for this area. So I've been kind of mocking up some things here to kind of figure out how to raise the ground up here and add some new turf and things. So that's in process. And I did do some fencing, and I threw a car back here and I took a little video, threw it up on my Instagram yesterday, and it looked really cool. So if I can sneak and squeeze back here, it looks pretty cool. I added this little fence here, and then these cars I just move the vehicles, I just move them around, pardon the finger, but it's kind of a cool little scene here, looking across. So that fence is a new addition, I believe. And we'll go to the next section. So the first thing, I'm doing it last, but the first thing that was gonna go on this update is this background building. It was a full kit that I have decided, I got chopped into pieces and stuff. So it's gonna serve as just kind of a background structure. I have to get stairs in there for front steps and kind of do some scenery on the back, and then probably add another backdrop behind here so that it covers the refrigerator section. That actually gives me an idea for a little project over Christmas break, to kind of, again, do a visual stopgap for that. you know, if I'm taking photos or filming, you know, this is kind of a really interesting area, but then you see the black, so I need a visual, something behind there instead of the refrigerator. So that was the first little thing that I had done since the last update, was work on the roof of this. It's not attached or anything, but I painted the windows a different color, and took some time to do that and fixed it up a little bit. I know it looks like a hot mess. I added shingles, or not necessarily shingles, but some kind of stripping, and it's just cardboard. So I need to kind of finish the details up on this, maybe add something on there to make it look a little more interesting than as is. But that was the first little bit that I had. So that's gonna wrap it up for this update. Again, if anybody's got any info on the use of wooden hoppers and the prototypical time frame when 50-foot boxcars came in, I was looking again today on specifically New Haven stuff, and I didn't see any 50-footers, but you know, again, a lot of you know a lot more than I do. I don't get too hung up on having to be exactly prototypical, but I do have 2 of these. It would be fun to throw them into operations, especially if they're prototypical. If not, I may sell them or just hold on to them. A couple of things is, especially on this table, I kind of designed this as a switching layout, which has been discussed at nauseum in previous updates. But there's some things that make 50-footer boxcars kind of designed out of, or planned out of the design, if you will. Using this siding here on the same track as this siding here, that kind of back up to one another. It can get a little tight in here if I'm working with 50-foot cars. I do have 50-foot gondolas, but that's another story for another day. And then this is a really short track here, and then kind of backing them up, I've got limited space here to have a locomotive and a 50-foot boxcar. I mean, I do have my 44-ton. I've got, you know, the 660 and the S1. So I've got locomotives that can do it. But if somebody's got some prototypical info they can share, that would be maybe a deciding factor as to what occurs with those guys. And then the gondolas that I do have, I probably want to replace those eventually with 40 or 42-foot ones, whichever is the standard prototypical length for the shorter ones. And that's going to do it. So have a good holiday. Have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll see you in January. And take care. Enjoy your December. And see you next time.